Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Automated Advantage. Today we have Andreas, the CEO and co founder of Hakuna. Very interesting story about where they got started, how they got started, what problems they're solving in the digital transformation space. So watch this. Look forward to you seeing a lot of benefit out of it. Thank you, and appreciate the watch. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Automated Advantage. We've got Andreas on today. Andreas, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us about your company?
Hi everybody, I'm Andreas Isma, originally Estonian. I know, very hard family name to pronounce. And I'm CEO and founder of Hakuna. Now, Hakuna is a startup, and what we do is we bridge the gap between the data and the humans. So one slogan that we almost ended up using was "Make data human again," but okay, that has a bit too much connotation to actually be used in a business setting. So the idea is that right now, people that work with data, they really operate on a technology level. So tables, columns, fields. And very often you see the situation that there is no business context, or it gets lost, or it gets forgotten because people are so busy pushing bits and bytes from left to right. So our goal is to inject the business context back into the conversation, or actually to replace the modern data solutions and data management with information solutions and business information management.
Okay. And you told when we were talking earlier, in our pre-conversation, you told me that there was a specific reason you got started. You did it in a I can't remember. You said a lab, but there's a different word to it. So maybe just tell us like why it started, what gap you saw in the market, and how you think what you're doing is different to help people.
Right. So let me start with the fact that CFOs hate data. Simply because, according to Gartner, 80 to 85% of data projects fail. Which means that if you have money and you want to invest it into data, you are better off investing it into a high risk stock. You will have a higher chance of return on your investment. And that is the sad reality of the market. And there are several reasons why this is happening. Mainly, one of the biggest reasons is that there is a huge disconnect between the understanding of the business and what lives in the heads of experts and the whole technology stack with its own slang, its own jargon, its own priorities, even. So, Hakuna started as a think tank. So, simply a group of very senior data professionals and human cognition professionals coming together to look into, okay, why the most natural thing, data, which is just information but then made digital. There is nothing more natural in this world than data, right? So why is it always so difficult? Why every time anyone is trying to do anything with the data, it becomes a high risk engagement? And one premise that we started from is a lot of people, a lot of organizations, especially consultancies, tend to blame business. So the business didn't have the right focus or didn't have the right sponsorship. And I'm asking myself, how can it happen that a business allocates millions into a project and immediately loses interest? That wasn't sitting well with me. I've seen this excuse brought up over and over again, and I just can't believe that you make an investment and you just don't pay any attention to it anymore. So you don't focus on it, you don't give it priority. That didn't make sense. So it's something else. And our goal was to look into, okay, but what is it? What's going on? Why is it so hard? Last year, we celebrated 40 years of Microsoft Excel. There was data and there were applications way before that. But you can see how long data topics have been around. 40 years. And after 40 years, organizations still struggle to get a grip on their data, still struggle to monetize it. Which means that whatever we have been doing for those 40 years clearly doesn't work. 40 years is enough time to fly a person to Mars.
Yeah, and it again, it's funny you said that. The guy that I was doing the podcast with earlier, that not exactly the same, but we were discussing data, and and your comment about consultancies and data projects and things like that is my background, and I've shared this before, is big ERP transformations and things like that. And what we found was, you said 40 years of Excel, and I was doing this for 30 years and it's still the same. It basically says, in the SOW for the transformation, data is the responsibility of the customer. And they're talking about, data transformation and bringing in this year's worth of data. But it's like, what about all the other stuff, right? It's like, where does it reside and what do you do with it? And I'm validating what you're saying. And I think that's kind of where you guys are seeing it and saying, look, there's a different way to do this.
There definitely is, absolutely. So if we look at the data, the problem that I see a lot right now is, of course, consultancies, they will sell whatever sells. And what sells is simple because complex stuff doesn't sell so well. It's hard to understand complex stuff. So the frameworks are oversimplified. One of the frameworks I've seen in action many, many times, and by the way, for the context, I've been chief data officer twice, and I've been in data leadership for about 25 years now. I've seen a lot of them. And what I typically see is those frameworks that kind of try to simplify the very complex thing, they just don't work. Dama and the similar frameworks, they just don't work. If you follow them to the letter, you will create a giant cost center and it's not going to yield any benefit. Why is that happening? Because what is data? In order to talk further about the data and its complexities and what we do about it, let's go back to the 50s, right? There are no computers. There is Joe on the phone, he sells, and there is Tom with a little truck, he delivers. And when they need to work together, they just talk. Tom comes to the office, gets the order from John, and goes on. So then they just talk. So John tells to Tom, you have to deliver this product to this customer. Go. Okay, these two guys, they don't scale too well. Now we have computers, and the goal of computers was to do two things. Store John's and Tom's knowledge, so they don't have to remember or put stuff on post-its or on paper, and scale this process so that hundreds of Jones at the same time can reach out to the customers and give hundreds of orders to hundreds of Toms. That's the whole thing, but the essence didn't really change. It's still about business information exchanged between one function and the other. And that is how it all started. Then we create systems, we create automations, and life of a business expert becomes extremely interesting, extremely nice, because they don't have to remember how to do stuff anymore. Just press a button and things will magically happen. Which with time, people retire, people change jobs, and in time we got a group of business experts that don't know how the process works. They know how to use their software to execute a process. But if you remove their software, they cannot work. It's over. So now the business knowledge is really lost. And if you start asking those experts what's going on, they will be talking about the screens and data fields, and they will be doing the system talk. Now, fast forward to the present reality, the business changes so quickly that the software cannot catch up. And you see this in a lot of ERP projects, as you were mentioning. ERP doesn't catch up quickly enough to the business reality because those are complex projects, those are complex IT transformations. And that leads to a lot of kind of shadow systems being created. So my SAP can't handle this, I'll put it in Excel, or I'll just remember it. And so long I'm with the company, I know how this works. So known digital data. So there are a lot of those applications, Excel sheets, some mini things created by local IT departments. All of that becomes a spaghetti of things, and eventually companies come to the point where they say, okay, we need to clean up this landscape. We need a digital transformation. And that's where a digital transformation faces what we call death by data. We need it, but we are unable to put together all this data. We don't know what it means anymore. We don't know why we need it. We don't know how it's born and what to do with it. And together with that, all that, we don't even know how our process works anymore. We lost the business knowledge. So every time I go to a customer and I advise them to where to start, I say KYB, know your business. Do a KYB exercise, figure out how you actually work. After that, we can talk, and we will not talk about data, not now, not ever. We will talk about business information, and we will stay at that level. And what Hakuna does, it makes sure that we can stay on that level because our software will take care of translating what business needs in human terms into the data layer. So, as a business expert, you don't need to worry about tables and columns and Excel sheets. Just tell me what you need and you'll get it. Moreover, tell me in your own language. So, if you call it a product, just call it a product. If you call it merchandise, call it merchandise. And if you call it a merchandise but product means something else for you, don't worry. Our system knows the context and it can help you navigate across business silos and talk to your colleagues without misunderstandings. So that's where it all started. The rest is just automation.
Well, and that's actually seriously bring up. That's kind of where I was going to go because people are also trying to automate things today, and there's like AI, and AI in the right context is the right thing to do. But at the same time, to your point, if your data is not good, if your processes are not good, it doesn't freaking matter. You're just automating shitty data, shitty processes, and I'm assuming you're seeing a lot of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we see a lot of that. And so we see two big problems. We see two big patterns of how those projects fail. One is indeed crap in, crap out. So you put absolutely messy data coming from a messy, unstructured process in, and you get mess out of it. And it cannot be any other way. So that's absolutely expected. Another problem that we are seeing a lot is we are trying to do something big. So organization tries to do a big transformation with a huge ROI, but they lack the foundation, the understanding of their own processes, understanding of their own business information, understanding of where this information gets created, where it sits digitally. Does it sit digitally anywhere? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's all in the head of experts, so you cannot automate that. Before you dump it out of the head of experts, you cannot possibly feed it to AI. So we have a lot of work to do before we can do the cool stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so on that note is so I think it's a potentially a broad range, but maybe tell us what does a an ideal customer of yours look like? Is it somebody that's got literally doing the digital transformation, has a data problem, doesn't matter the industry, or are you guys focused in a particular area?
No, it doesn't matter the industry because where we start with our product as well is collecting business knowledge in a structural manner. So there will be a model capturing the business knowledge structurally in a navigable, human readable, context aware way. That's where we start, which means that it doesn't matter what your business is. Together with your experts, we will make it happen anyway. Now, of course, we have a couple of sectors that need help more than others in this way. And I'm talking about the industry. So, organizations that for years believed that having big machines is a competitive advantage. And now they are facing a reality where smaller organizations without big machines, but with smart ways to leverage their data, can actually outplay them. And the problem of those big organizations is they've never really invested into data because it's not core business. It's a cost center. Nobody cared. And now they start panicking and trying to catch up. But as I said, they miss that foundation. So they miss the know your business, the structural understanding of their information. They miss master data, so understanding of what real life objects does their business handle and how every function works with it. So, because of our agile methodology and software that anyone can use, so it's not for IT, every business expert can use it. There is no need of training. We've worked a lot with human cognition experts to make that happen. So usability was and is always the focus point. We can help those organizations because an alternative for them is a multi-year governance program with unclear ROI, unclear priority, and honestly, unclear reason for the business to engage. It's not interesting for business folks. All those policies and procedures and documents and workshops and sessions, they kind of compete with real business things.
Yeah, somebody just said we need our data sorted out. Go and do it, right?
Yeah, and we are the only ones able to go and do it without saying, okay, now you sit on that committee, we will design a responsibility and ownership matrix, and you will be part of a matrix organization, and we will give you a list of terms, you will provide definitions, and there will be a data governance council that you will kind of sideways report into. All of that is great in theory. In practice, if you are talking to, let's say, a refinery manager, his business is to run a refinery, not sit in data governance councils.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is your point again, go back to the consultancies. And I mean, they're not to disparage it because some of them do good work, but at the end of the day, their objective is billable hours times a rate. And as long as you can get there, whereas you guys have got a very definitive process and end goal. And it's not about billing hours, it's about getting to the end goal.
Yeah, we are a for profit company. Of course, we will be billing hours as well.
Yeah.
But the point is not even about billing the hours because there are budgets and there is a return on investment. It's about making this discipline, which is data, which is kind of a foreign discipline for many of those organizations. And it is necessary and it's very painful if you execute it in a traditional way. What we want to make sure is that it becomes synergetic to the core business that business experts are busy with.
Yeah.
The idea is to just make sure that we are not creating another governance overhead, another layer of committees and paperwork.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, just kind of rewinding just a little bit, is so you started the business, you built a software. So how was that, and some lessons learned and things like that, as far as like getting from your idea to something that's marketable right now. So maybe just a little of the journey.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest lesson learned that I can share right away as a CEO is, well, I'm a subject matter expert in this. I'm not a commercial person by heart. I'm actually coming from more R&D labs. So right now, the way we are organized, I would be perfectly sitting in the R&D lab and not really in commercial. And of course, as anyone would, I was hoping that somebody will come in and handle the commercials. Well, the message to all young CEOs, that's not going to happen. If you cannot sell, nobody will be able to sell for you. Which means that it doesn't matter how geeky or nerdy you are, you'll have to get out there and start selling. And that was the most difficult part for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and
Without
that.
my research, I feel uncomfortable selling, but I have to.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the thing, right? Is some businesses are built by salespeople who are not necessarily technologists, but know how they can sell. Others are built by idea people like yourselves. That's, listen, I'm not great at selling, but at the same time, you tell me if I'm right here or not. But if you're passionate about what you do and you start, selling is telling a story, and generating an outcome. It does become a little bit better when you really believe in what you're selling. Is that an accurate statement?
That absolutely is. It doesn't make it any more comfortable because selling comes with a completely different mindset from doing research.
Yeah.
However, we are not just yet another AI company. I don't even think we are AI company. Of course, we create AI. We have our own models as well. We are doing something radically different. And we don't have really any other company that would do exactly the same thing as we do. We know that the big guys like Microsoft, Amazon, they were trying to solve the problem. To this date, they are not even close. And that means that it's double hard to sell because you are selling pure innovation, but also it means that it's double as difficult to delegate the sales. So as a CEO, you have to face it.
And am I accurate? I mean, if so, that's a good point. And if you're going into a cycle, well, I think what you're saying is there's nothing that you can compare to that matches, right? So you've got to compare to other things that haven't worked and the reason that you're indifferent. So it's not like, hey, buy, I'm trying to think of a good example, buy this CRM and this CRM. They kind of do the same thing, but ours is a little better because of this. That's what you're running into, I assume.
Pretty much, yes. And it's really, really difficult because, of course, we don't want to sell a negative message like your legacy stuff doesn't work. That's no way to sell.
Yeah.
But then the question is, what is it that we are selling? Is it data management? Is it data catalogs? Is it, what is it really? Well, it's all of the above. It's a digital business expert. It's kind of all your business expertise in one place, completely interoperable across systems, processes, and your humans.
Yeah. And I mean, I
The
think
positioning is hard. It's
exactly.
probably the hardest task.
I think for you guys and for a minute amount of advice is I think focus on the outcome, right? Hey, this is the outcome. This is what we're selling. Telling your story and focusing on the outcome, addressing a key pain point is you can put those things in a little box and go, this is how you're going to see the benefit. I'm not saying it's
This
going to
is
make it
ultimately
easy,
what we
but
come
it
to.
makes it a little easier.
This is ultimately what we come to. So we what we sell right now is, if you have a foundational problem that prevents you from achieving success with your AI or digital transformation or any data initiative, and you know you can't accomplish it because you lack the foundation, the very basics of data discipline, we can create it for you together with accomplishing the value you were looking for in synergy, iteratively, in a very lightweight manner, and leave behind things that everyone can operate.
Yeah.
Not a separate team or another governance committee, but something embedded naturally into your business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that makes complete sense. So thinking about and so to remind me, how long have you guys been in like when did you start developing the software?
So we incorporated 2 years ago with the idea to start doing consultancy to finance the development. We've done that quite successfully for a year and a half, but we noticed that it's a distraction and it would be better to just focus on software development. We still do smaller consultancy projects where we help customers, but we don't want to scale as consultancy anymore. But before that, we spent 4 years in a think tank, which was just solving the problem because we love the discipline. The problem hurts us. We don't want it to exist. So it was pure science and pure passion that became a commercial organization 2 years ago.
Okay. And so Mike, the reason that I asked that is somebody's sitting out there right now, whether it doesn't matter what it is, it says, hey, I think I found this gap in the market. I think I found this I know I can solve a problem and I want to start my own business. What's your guidance and advice to them? Maybe a couple of lessons learned, key foundational things that need to be in place. What any thoughts?
Just start. Literally, just do it. There is no other way to go there. If you have an idea and it's a digital product, sit down and write your first line of code. And that is how you start. What you shouldn't do. Now, I think we stepped in every single lesson learned on what you shouldn't do because we've never looked for investors. We are a company that's created by three very senior people. We never needed investment. We're fully self funded and funded by our consultancy revenue streams. So we never actually looked out there for money and advice. So I can talk about a couple of ways you can lose time as a startup with a great idea. Marketing materials. Let's do a fantastic flashy website. Please don't. Nobody cares. If you don't have a website, that's bad, but if you do have a website, that's not gonna sell for you. Keep it simple. Just put a two-liner, just declare you exist and reserve your domain. By the way, do it early because otherwise you will be buying it for a lot of money from somebody who did it quicker than you did. And that's it. Don't spend any time there. That's one thing. Don't go for advisors. There are a lot of people preying on startups who want to be advisors in exchange for equity, and they tell you what to do. And you don't need anyone telling you what to do. You just need to do. So don't even bother, especially not for equity.
I love it. Yeah, it's funny you say that. You said just do it. I literally, I'm going to do the analysis one of these days. Is 50% of people say go for it, and 50% of people say don't do it. It's really hard, right?
I'm not going to lie and say that it's easy and it's all. It is going to be difficult and it is going to be painful at times, and it is going to be unpredictable at times. However, so for us, if I look at myself and my co founders, I can say that even the worst case scenario, and it doesn't go anywhere, that's the worst case scenario. We all will look back at those years and say, well, we've had way better life than if we stayed in employment or just did whatever people do. And we had so much fun that we didn't even feel that we were actually working. So
Yeah,
imagine for us, it was kind of an early retirement. And from there on, doing your hobby.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Um, so as we close out now, this is very, very enlightening, and I appreciate the comments. So tell us again your landing page slash website. That's how to find you. And I mean, I think I'll say this: what I hear is, if you're a company that's considering some kind of transformation that has data issues, reach out, and then you can find these guys at.
At hakuna.com, Hakuna with double O. And by the way, I'll tell you the reason for this weird name, right? So, when we had this idea of capturing business information and not just data, contextually, and that was way, way, way before AI era. So, we're talking 6, almost 7 years ago now. Of course, the first place you go to is academia. You present this idea and you hope there will be somebody that will do this research with you. From academia, the response I got was, it's impossible. No such technology can ever exist. So, hakuna literally in Swahili means no such thing.
Wow.
We
See?
build it since. That's what I'm saying. We have it. It's working. It's running. We have an oil and gas company that only needed 5 weeks to build their foundation for their whole supply chain. We have energy company that is able to progress towards digital transformation with zero foundation and all success. We made it happen, and we took Hakuna, no such thing, for our name.
I love it. I'm from South Africa originally, so the Swahili resonates. So that is incredible. I love it. I'm glad you finished with that because I should have asked that up front. But Andreas, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. And folks, go and look at this technology. I think it's groundbreaking. So thanks so much again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.